Midnight is just around the corner. That's right, and we're gonna get the big announcements and everything going forward here. Obviously, the Q&A, a bunch of reveals about what's going on. We now know that there's going to be a lot of revamping going on. We already know about Silvermoon happening, right? Silvermoon obviously rebuilt from the ground up. That's all big, and it's going to be a nice city to visit. It's going to be our hub city for Midnight. But there's a bunch of other things happening here. We're looking now deeper into the expansion, up to 12.2, big revamps coming, and maybe a new continent? What is this? Let's see what Doran, the Teller of 1,000 Truths, has to say.
Midnight is based in the old world, but we will get 2 major patches, meaning we will get 2 new big zones in these expansions. However, what zones can be added when we are literally just returning to TBC content and we're definitely not going to Outland? Well, we already have a lot of evidence for what is possible. I mean, Old God content won't happen, they confirmed that. Naga content is also highly unlikely for Midnight. Revamp of a few more classic zones.
I don't know if Naga content is... I think the Naga are going to show up at some point. This is an Elven expansion after all, and the Naga are a big part of Elven history. No doubt. I actually think even Nazath might make an appearance, and if he does, right, because I don't think he's dead, then for sure the Naga are going to be relevant again, Ajara and all that shit. So I don't know if I'd say the Naga aren't going to show up in Midnight.
In the Eastern Kingdoms,
they are elves, yes they are.
So that is one of the possibilities, and we also have the Arati continent. Light people that only exist to battle the void, very likely inhabiting Avaloran, where the Titan rebels live, and the Titans are returning and the entire storyline is super relevant. Furthermore, under the city, Gilneas revamp was set up as well as a brand new Draenei capital they plan to build. So what is 12.1 and 12.2 going to be about?
Indeed.
If you wanted anything Warcraft related, Gamido has the best deals on the market.
Oh, there it is.
With my
There's your ad, boys.
You can get almost every other game software, and they also just added mobile top-ups for all your favorite mobile games with the craziest...
So does reuniting the elves also count as reuniting the trolls? Well, their history is definitely entwined, right? I mean... Elves are trolls. Trolls are elves. What is it? No, elves are trolls. Trolls were first. So, I mean, we're getting the Amani trolls returning and everything, so surely we're going to get some more troll lore. But I don't know if I consider it a uniting of the trolls. But they're definitely, you know, entangled with each other. You can't talk elves without trolls, really, if you're talking about history.
So, I know it's kind of early to really talk about upcoming patches when we're not even in the alpha yet, but unlike most expansions so far, the World Soul Saga is actually different. We've known the general outline of the story of the saga for the past 2 years. We've had a general idea for the patches, like the content they set
Elves
up,
are yassified
that could
trolls.
be coming, like based on the hints that they gave us these past 2 years, storylines they had set up, and also the locations that we will be visiting throughout the saga. We have a few very realistic locations that could be used, but Blizzard did actually change a lot of things on the fly. For example, the Harandar and the Haranir we are getting is literally the War Within content.
Oh, that's another thing, right? I mean, the Haranir are supposedly, aren't they like the missing link between trolls and elves? They're essentially like the beginning of the transformation of a troll to an elf. So, I mean, yeah, then I guess you're technically getting more troll lore there, right? Because you got trolls. You got the midpoint of them, which is the Horanir, I like to call them, and then the final part, which is the elves.
He confirmed this in a recent interview, so they just moved it for Midnight, which is why Harandar really kind of seems so out of place with Quotalas. Undermine also kind of came out of nowhere, but that was hinted even mid-Dragonflight with a lot of data-mined items and hints. Furthermore, I was almost certain Karesh was going to be a Midnight thing due to the Void team, but that actually ended up being the finale of the War Within. Now,
yeah, I still think Karesh was supposed to be a Midnight thing, or not even a War Within thing. I think this whole Rootlands and the Haranir and all that, the reason why it feels out of place is because it kind of is. I feel like that was a Metzen move to move that patch into Midnight to kind of tie the 2 expansions together, and then he shoehorned in the Karesh and everything into the War Within. He kind of flipped the 2. The beginning of what should have been the War Midnight and the end of what was the War Within, and he flipped them so the 2 expansions kind of flow better together. Because remember, the War Within was already done, basically, when Metzen came around, so he had to change it up a little bit to turn it into more of a saga.
Titans return in the last Titan, we will be focused on Northrend. This expansion is currently based around the Sunwell and Quel'Thalas, and we already got the Night Elven capital up north, Dragon Isles are close, and Quel'Thalas is revamped, which really makes it difficult to say what exactly will be the 2 new zones that will come throughout Midnight, as this is a very specific expansion. Unlike Dragonfight, where we got a brand new continent, or the War Within, where we got Kazagar, we are returning to a TBC area. The old world just revamped, and it's not exactly that we can just discover a brand new continent around Quel'Thalas out of thin air, but we do have some hints for what could be happening. Realistically, following the same patch cadence, the 2 major patches, it is almost certain we're going to get at least 2 new big zones in 12.1 and 12.2, with potentially something small, like how we got the Southern Isles. But what are these actual zones? So to get it right out of the way, we know a one that is most likely, and that...
I mean, they already have an island. I mean, the Quell Danas is right there. They could easily revamp it into another daily hub, you know, kind of... I mean, that was the original real daily hub. We had dailies out in Burning Crusade, Blade's Edge dailies, all kinds of stuff. You remember the Netherstorm dailies, the Nether Drake stuff that you had to grind out. But Quell Danas was like that first real, like, here's a new island daily hub, go do dailies here. And that could easily be redone again for this. So I don't know if they have to add another island, or you could just patch in like an updated Quell Danas. Maybe we can't go there early on. I mean, obviously you got the Sunwell War happening right there, and Blizzard's already talked about us coming through the Sunwell with the Army of the Light maybe to help, because there was that interview with Maria Hamilton or whatever, and Ian Hazacostas, where she says the player characters are gonna come. That's the player characters coming through the light. And you're going to be right there in the battle. So I think that's how Midnight's going to start. And then maybe we get like a rebuild Quell Danas patch where we're just, you know, running around doing dailies. You get some kind of new like anal ring or something to upgrade. You know, you always get that little item. You got to upgrade for a patch. Maybe that's what ends up happening.
That is that it won't really be a new
Make a giant
zone,
bridge to it, maybe.
Other surrounding zones are going to get similar treatment as Quel'Thalas. Did you notice that with Midnight announcement, they actually just bunched up a few zones into Quel'Thalas, so we no longer have the Ghostlands, for example. It's like one zone. Now, there are actual hints for more old zone areas. That is not really just my crazy speculation, like there is evidence. First of all, it was confirmed that Plaguelands like Stratholme is getting a bit of a revamp in the base patch of Midnight. This is the border area of Quel'Thalas. Other hint is that post Gamescom, in an interview, Blizzard told us outright they plan to revamp more classic zones. Then the other hint is that Undercity got a whole bunch of storylines to set the ground up for some.
Yeah, revamping more classic zones. We're getting a soft WoW 2 launch here. That's what we're getting. You're going back to Azeroth. They're doing the upper half of Eastern Kingdoms. Eventually, I guess they'll do the bottom half, and then they'll do Kalimdor. We're getting a refresh. The first one, really, of the entire world since Cataclysm. That's what it's looking like here. So what if you're a warlock? Can you be summoned by the light? No, you can't play the expansion. There'll be no warlocks in this expansion.
Gilneas also
Same
got a big
with Void
quest
Elves.
line so that the Alliance gets it back, and Sylvanas' return has also been confirmed. Furthermore, we just got a big storyline in the Arati Highlands, so almost certainly one of the major patches will involve the zones involving Old Lordran. I've covered this multiple times, so I really don't want to repeat myself. But
oh my god, if they bring Lordaeron, I've been saying this since the days that the undead were no longer like this wretched group that can't be, part of a real part of the Horde and Alliance and all that. You got to rebuild Lordaeron, right? It needs to happen. You got Kalia Menethil with her beautiful pillows standing there now in what is the old throne room that her family used to sit in. And you got all this underground shit that you don't need anymore. Just rebuild Lordaeron. Build it in its new glory. I want to see Lordaeron. I want to see this. I want to walk those halls. I want the rose petals falling on me as I enter with my beautiful long hair. This is what I need in the game. And it's such a badass lore city. I would love to see Lordaeron rebuilt, and I think the undead can do it now. They're more prideful now. They don't need to be hiding underground. Rebuild this shit. Make it a hub city. Cross faction. Let's do it.
the gist of it is something could happen. Maybe the
You're a Void Elf Warlock? Yeah, you're out of luck.
Certainly it will. I mean, it will be kind of lame if the entire premise of Midnight is just that one single attack on Quel'Thalas that we immediately repel. Plaguelands have been due for restoration for the longest time, and realistically, they could really just be turned into one zone like Old Lordaeron. So, something involving Undercity Gilneas, Old Lordaeron is definitely open for one major patch. It is also an option that both major patches could involve this, and one could be the upper part.
Oh man, look at that. That's Dalaran in the crater. This is Dalaran before it became a flying city. And you guys remember I've talked about this before, that if they rebuild Dalaran, I hope they rebuild it on the ground, like full-on Dalaran, because the floating version of it that we have is only this inner ring. All of this expanse of Dalaran, we've never seen it in the game. Jesus Christ, 100 bits, thank you. Shut up, you bald Canadian rat man. The real entertainment has arrived. Thank you, Burning. I appreciate that 100 bits, man. Dalaran must rise from the... I mean, yeah, the mages have rebuilt it 1,000 times. I mean, actually, they've rebuilt it in the lore, I think, twice at this point. So I don't see why they can't rebuild it again. I mean, they got magic, right? They can do that shit, even though this thing was literally vaporized into powder. They could just build a new city, get some new materials together. But I would love to see this version of it. Again, with the big, the bigger city. Well, almost like a Suramar size, but a Dalaran.
The upper part, the other could be the Arathi Highlands, for example, but I'm not sure if that is all they have. So, realistically, what else do we have for one more patch, like 12.2? Now, Old God stuff that was foreshadowed and everything was recently confirmed to not happen in this expansion, so forget about that for now at least. We're getting the Void Storm Zone, which is sort of akin to Karesh, I guess, and we just get Karesh, so I doubt we're going to get another Void planet, another Void world. Haradam is the War Within content. We still know very little, so it is very hard to say. It is possible we could get like the Emerald Nightmare themed patch because the Rift of Aln is there, just like we
could get an Emerald Nightmare. I could see that happening. You know, the Night Elves obviously are elves. It's the elf expansion, so you could get maybe, I've talked about this before, a return of Malfurion. Right, in his badass form, not his Tyrande, I'm gonna cry from my asshole version that we got in what was it, Legion. You know, we could see maybe Xavius return another time. This guy's returned like 10 times at this point. But a return of the Emerald Nightmare would bring the Night Elves into the fold a lot, and you would see Malfurion returning and everything. So that could be a thing. I could see that happening.
The Emerald Dream in Dragonflight, but I don't think this concept was that crazy popular, to be honest. There is also Old God lore, so I'm not really certain the Emerald Nightmare is happening, but it is a possibility.
I think there will be some Old God lore, personally.
More setups to work with the hints that we have gotten over the years. Now, I don't know how many of you remember, but a few years back we had a big Draenei questline where they talked about getting their new capital and finally settling for good on Azeroth. This could be followed through, but it is really hard to say because they didn't really specify where it will happen. They just kind of generally said they want to settle. Some people say Azure Styles could be involved, and that kind of makes sense because that is the Alliance side of TBC content on Azeroth, and TBC is obviously the focus of this expansion, but I feel like that is so far away. I mean, it's just a random island that Draenei crashed into. I don't see what really connects Quotalas to it. However, we do have one thing that could potentially involve it, and that is the entire Arathi continent, which could be on that exact side of Azeroth, the other side of Kalimdor, that unexplored area, the no man's land. I also don't want to waste too much of your time on this because I've covered this so many times already, but it is also highly possible for Midnight and super relevant. The Arathi, as far as we know, live on Azeroth on some undiscovered continent beyond the storm. They could only navigate themselves with their highly advanced ships. It's likely on the side where the Azure Missiles are because we never discovered it. Their storyline was the main story of the War Within, and we just had the entire Arathi storyline in the Highlands. Furthermore, they're insane.
I see the Arathi taken off really as a storyline. Alex coming in with the prime. I mean, Alex, you just been subbing, gifting subs, bidding today. Thank you so much, man. Choo choo. Have to cook for the baby. Catch you later. New home, so MIA a bit, but keep kicking ass. Thank you so much, man, for everything today. I do appreciate it. Deathlight of our Scourge. As I was saying, the basics of the Arathi and their storyline and everything, I think, is being laid as groundwork for what's going to happen post Last Titan, where we go maybe to the other side of Azeroth. Now you got a massive continent, and multiple expansions can happen there going forward.
Relevant to Midnight. They're literally half Arathi, half Quotalas elves. They're light users. I mean, the light army is literally coming through the Sunwell in the Midnight cinematic. Their entire shtick was the final battle against the Void, the so-called Renilash in their prophecy. Now, people are saying that the Arathi are possible content for after the saga, and they're setting it up slowly so that we can get another expansion after the Last Titan, and that is possible, but still, I mean, their entire ordeal is that they're light fanatics, super advanced. Their entire goal is to battle the Void. I really doubt they're going to miss the entire thing in Midnight because it was said that this is like the final and the ultimate battle that they have been preparing for hundreds of years for. So
Old
the Antarctic
Anduin
continent is entirely possible as a major patch zone, something like 12.2. These guys were said to be highly advanced, rich, powerful society.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think we're gonna get into 12.2. I think the Arathi shit is gonna be, what would it be? Midnight is 12, so that would mean the last Titan is patch 13. It would be 14. Patch 14 would be the Arathi going to the other side of the world shit.
Furthermore, it was speculated that they might live on Evaloran. That is the zone that was foreshadowed years ago in Dragonflight, and this is the place where Titan rebels, successful rebels, inhabited. With the entire Titan team of them returning and being very likely evil, it is likely we will discover these guys as well. I'm guessing Evaloran is not the size of Northrend, so not full expansion content, but definitely possible to be the size of maybe Karesh as like major patch content. So realistically, that is a big possibility for another major patch, but it is hard to say how that will be tied in exactly. So, realistically, we have two major possibilities, like the most likely possibilities. The Old Zone Revamp or the Arathi Continent, that is the bit we have the most evidence and information about. Other than this, we also have the entire Naga storyline, but that was kind of soft confirmed that the Naga will not be a big deal in Midnight as well, so that may happen in
maybe
Northrend.
not a big deal,
Still,
but they're going to be relevant.
Things are happening in this expansion. Much of the lore is still mysterious, and we can't really know which way it is going to go exactly. It is, as I said, possible that both patches will be on Eastern Kingdoms, or they can be on a different landmass. I doubt we're getting new planets or new worlds like Karesh.
Yeah, I don't think so.
A light planet is possible, like the light version of Karesh, depending
the light version of Karesh? I don't know. I think we're going to stay pretty grounded. I don't think we're going to get any new planets in Midnight.
How the storyline develops with the Army of the Light.
Technically, the Void Storm is a new
place. Check out my video on how the
place.
cosmology completely changed by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on the Titan War in Greek mythology that I recorded live in Italy by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, nice video. Technically, the Void Storm Zone is another planet. It's where Xal'atath's army headquarters are and shit. So I think that's the most new planet shit we're gonna get. Otherwise, revamps of these old zones. It seems like Blizzard's on a revamping spree of the old world. That's what I feel like. It's almost like a WoW 2 soft core revamp where they got all these zones being redone, all these cities being redone, all these storylines moving forward. Right? We even did Gilneas already. Nothing happened. We did Gilneas, got a new leader, great, but nothing's happened since then. So all those storylines are kind of sitting out there, ready for Blizzard to revamp shit. We got Dalaran, we got the Undercity, we got Gilneas, all really in the Eastern Kingdoms, all ready to kind of get their storylines done and get revamped even more. We'll see if it all happens. Obviously, Dead Scar, Plaguelands, all that, we know those things are getting revamped for sure. Nice video from Doran.